What's up, everybody? Garrett back here, and I want to give you my first thoughts and review, spoiler-free, on Cobra Kai Season 4. All right, so I've been getting a lot of messages trying to find out what did I think of Cobra Kai Season 4. Everybody knows I'm a huge Cobra Kai fan, huge Karate Kid fan, one of my favorite movies growing up as a kid, and still is. And man, I've been on this wagon with Cobra Kai since day one. When Cobra Kai Season 1 came out, I actually went to the theater to watch Karate Kid on the big screen, followed by Cobra Kai Season 1. The first two episodes of Season 1 I actually saw on the big screen a couple days before release date. So fast forward, yes, I've been on board since day one, YouTube Red days, now the Netflix days, and man, I've loved this series season after season. They do really well with cliffhangers, and I was super excited for Season 4 because there was a lot of hype behind it, but one of the main reasons I was excited for it was the announcement of Terry Silva. If you guys don't know, is one of the main villains of Karate Kid Part 3. Karate Kid Part 3 is one of my favorites of the franchise. I know it doesn't really get a lot of love, but it's actually my second favorite of the franchise overall because I just feel like it's loaded with just real cool characters like people like Terry Silva and Mike Barnes. So again, I think Karate Kid 3 is very overlooked, so I was really excited they were bringing some of these elements into the mix this season. I was lucky enough to get a virtual screening of Episode 1, Season 4 a few days before release date. So this was all online. I was chosen to participate in this screening where they had interviews with the cast members. They were slightly talking about the season and what to expect. And we actually watched Episode 1 together. Now, man, Episode 1 of this series just blew me away. So the way Episode 1 started off was just super cool. I mean, it really hyped me up for this season. I don't want to give anything away in case you guys haven't watched it yet. I will have a spoiler-filled review coming up in the next couple days, but right now I just want to give you my initial thoughts, and feel free to post down in the comments if you agree or disagree with what I'm about to say. So after coming off Episode 1, I was super hyped up for this season. So they dropped this New Year's morning here where I live, so I started binging it right away. And I will say, what an emotional roller coaster this season was. I mean, there was ups and downs. You were liking characters, you were not liking characters. They were, man, I don't want to spoil stuff. I'll do that in my next review, but this was a roller coaster ride. Overall, I liked it. I wouldn't say it was my favorite season of the bunch, but it's right in the middle. There was some things about this season that really irked me, being a longtime Cobra Kai fan. But overall, I found this to be a super enjoyable season. I just love that they're able to take characters that we love and then kind of get us to kind of turn on them, and then the characters that we're not really liking, and then get us to fall in love with them. I feel they do such a great job at doing that, and you're going to see this a lot during this season. So I don't want to get into too much about positives or negatives, but some of the negatives, I felt like at some points there was parts of this show that felt like I was watching something like Diary of a Wimpy Kid or something on Disney, and it really was just kind of like, we're taking it here. But then there was other parts where you were kind of like, oh my God, this is not for kids at all, right? So they do a real good job at kind of mixing the two. Some parts were a little bit too cringy for me, but overall I was satisfied with this season itself. I mean, again, if you're on Season 4 and you're still putting out just quality television with quality storylines, like, I've got to give it to you, especially in this Cobra Kai universe that they've created. But the nice thing about this season here was that you actually had an endpoint. So you knew this series was building up for the next All Valley tournament, where there's a lot of seasons where there was no real endpoint. It was just kind of a season, and they had some cliffhangers, and they kind of got the story rolling a little bit farther and farther and farther. This one, you kind of had an end in sight. You understood what these characters were actually here for, that they were training, and they each kind of told you exactly why they wanted to be the winners of this All Valley tournament. There was a lot at stake for the characters themselves, especially the senseis. There was a lot at stake for them too. So again, having that endpoint really just kind of helped this season flow. There was one thing I will say about this season I felt like was kind of a turnoff, was that they really were just trying to cram a lot of new characters in the mix. And I think that was a little bit of an issue, was there was a lot of newer characters, so they had stories to tell with them. And I think it kind of took away a little bit of the people that we really have grown to love in this series. But because they were telling a lot of these new stories, I do feel like they did a pretty good job trying to make them all work. So at the end of the day, you actually did start to care more about some of these new characters. So they did a pretty good job with them because you know they're going to play a bigger part in the next season that they're currently filming. So the biggest reason I was super excited about this series, like I said, was Terry Silva. He was the big bad in Karate Kid 3. We already know this. It was in the trailers, so you guys aren't spoiling anything here. But I think overall what they did with their character was the same thing. It was very up and down. At first, I was like, all right, this is going to be so good. As the season went on, I was kind of like, oh man, like I'm not really happy with what they're doing with him here. But then at the end, I was really happy with the way that they portrayed Terry Silver in his role for this season and in this series. This season is definitely one to watch. It's enjoyable from beginning to end. It is pretty action-packed. There's not many episodes that are slow. Like I said, they're trying to tell a lot of stories, so there's a lot going on here. And I think it really does also help develop a couple different characters here. So in my opinion, I think Tori and Robbie's characters were the best they've ever been in this season. I think those are the two standouts for me. Besides having the adults, I think the adults are always standouts. But as far as the kids, I think this is really Tori and Robbie's season. Robbie is one of those characters where I always kind of liked, but he is a way better fit in Cobra Kai than he was in Miyagi-Do. Having more of that arrogance to him, being a little bit more villain-esque on his side. He's got a little bit of a good heart, but that cockiness and that more of a badass approach, I think really just does Robbie well. I looked at him as a total different character in this season here than I had previously, and I really think they did a hell of a job, and he is a standout in this season. Tori's the same thing. I think Tori, I've really liked since day one, but it is a different side of Tori you see in this season, and I think they do such a great job with telling that story. And hey, it could be the actress Peyton herself, but she's just so good at this role, and I think she was just another standout in this season. Now, real quick, as far as the other two main kids in this season, Sam and Miguel, in my opinion, I just feel they really took a back seat in this season to the other two that I talked about. Now, again, I don't know if it was actually meant to be that way, but I just feel like when it came to just storytelling and when it came to the acting, I just feel they were really overshadowed here, which, again, I'm fine with because I actually prefer the other two better. When I was talking about the seasons before, a lot of people had issues with Sam, saying that she was annoying, they didn't like her character. I was always like, oh, I like Sam's character. I think she's good at what she does. This time around, I can see what people are saying, and I don't know if it's the way it's acted. I don't know if it's the way the character is supposed to be portrayed, but there was a lot of times where she came off very whiny. I feel like it was really hard to kind of get behind her sometimes, and she's supposed to kind of be the baby face if we're going to talk in wrestling terms. And that's another thing. I'm a big wrestling fan, so this show to me feels a lot like wrestling. I mean, there's heel turns and face turns, and it's just, like I said, this season alone was an emotional roller coaster ride in my opinion. I have a lot to say about it, but that's for my other review. But yeah, I highly recommend checking out Cobra Kai Season 4 because, again, what they do so well, and they still do here, is they leave you wanting more. I don't know how they do it. I guess they just got a lot of tricks up their sleeve, but man, it ended and I was like, I need to see Season 5. So take that for what it's worth. Like I said, I just want to give you a couple of my thoughts on this season. But yeah, I definitely recommend checking that out. It is on Netflix now. And stay tuned because I will be posting up a more spoiler-heavy review in the next coming days. All right, guys, thank you so much for checking this out. If you like this stuff and you're really into Cobra Kai and Karate Kid, make sure to definitely subscribe if you haven't. And make sure to like this thing to keep this community growing. And guys, leave comments underneath. Let me know which characters you really dug in this season. Did you like Season 4? Where does it rank in the series? For me, I kind of put it, I don't know, I think it's 2 or 3 for me as far as my favorite season. I can't really say yet. I think I got to go back and watch all 4 of them before I make that decision. But I think for me, it falls in like either a 2 or a 3 as far as the ranking in this series alone. But yeah, let me know, guys, down below. I know a lot of you wanted to hear my initial thoughts because you know how much of a big fan I am of this series and of this franchise. And please stay tuned because January, I'm going to bring you a lot of Cobra Kai and Karate Kid heavy stuff. I'm going to go through some more stuff that I have in my collection. So thanks again for checking this out. And like always, stay